We're back. I had such a good time unboxing my collection last time on video that it's been less than a day, and I'm just gonna do the next box. I was gonna wait until the video came out, but it's so nice to have my collection, even a fraction of it, up there. This next box is not nearly as long or as big as the first one. This one had 36 or some odd games in there, which I didn't expect. This one is a lot less, it's like 10 to 15, I think, in this one. But there's some really good ones in here that I really like and have some fun stories for. So without further ado, let's crack open the next box my mama sent me, and let's see what we're adding to the collection today. Sitting right at the top, going right into the grandfather games section of my collection when I do have enough to get it categorized like I used to, is AH-64D Longbow Limited Edition. This is yet another flight simulator game. Unlike the F-19 stealth one, which was incredibly primitive looking, it was a very simple looking game. This one is much more updated. I mean, it's on CD-ROM already, so that already tells me we're looking at, I'm gonna guess, late 90s, early 2000s, closer to probably the early 2000s with just how the game looks. But just like the other ones, this is a heavy simulation game. All about as realistic as possible. On the back, you can see, this is as best. That's all you're getting. It's highly detailed and as realistic as they could have made it for the time. So I imagine this is going to be something when I do spin it up and eventually give it a shot, when I eventually build my retro PC, it'll be something I die in very quickly and probably put away for a while before I get the itch for some heavy simulator games. Another game that I have that I actually haven't played is the sequel to a game that I don't even know if I don't think I own. It's an old school RTS called Warwind 2 Human Onslaught. Again, this is like a post-apocalyptic sci-fi RTS game that looks like Warcraft 1 from what I can see back here. It really seems like it falls in that era of gaming before Warcraft 2 kind of came around and revolutionized how RTSs were played. Back in this day, especially in the 90s, RTSs were not only huge, but they were highly experimental. Many different RTSs were trying to kind of get it right, figure out how the best way to control units were and the more fun mechanics to involve in a game like this. And it led to a lot of RTSs that kind of got left by the wayside. A couple of them got sequels, like Warwind 2, apparently, but even then they ended up getting swept away at the end of it all. And this, like I said, it really does look like a Warcraft 1 style game. Really cool. I loved Warcraft 1. It was so weird and so unique. So I'm hoping this is the same. So here's a game from the last box, actually, when we looked at MDK2, you remember that bizarre puzzle platformer thing I was talking about? Same developer. This is Shiny Entertainment, but this is Sacrifice, or should Sacrifice WCD according to the price tag for some weird reason. This is actually funny that I pulled this out because this is a game one of my favorite YouTubers to watch actually just recently covered a few weeks ago. I was like, wait a minute, I swear I just watched a video on this game. Yeah, this was covered by Mandalore Gaming. I'm a big fan of his videos. And this is, it's another RTS, but it's like a hero-based RTS with RPG elements where you're kind of down on the ground with the troops and stuff, multiple different factions, different powers for each one with different gameplay mechanics. It's another very unique game, and that makes sense coming from Shiny Entertainment, who make such bizarre such bizarre and unique takes on well-trodden formulas and genres at that time. And Sacrifice is no different than their other works. This is a really kind of old school box. This is an MS-DOS CD-ROM game that opens kind of like from the top down like that, and you can see very few games I have open like kind of top down like that. Most open from the top like a normal box. But this is Crusader No Remorse by Origin Entertainment. You may know them from the Wing Commander series, or more recently, at least a lot of the members of Origin went on to go work on Chris Roberts' new thing, the game Star Citizen, the game that'll never be finished. But this is an XCOM style, turn-based kind of hero strategy game where you're controlling your unit like in turn-based throughout a grid, taking cover. I've never played it, though I have seen plenty of gameplay of it because when I found it on the store shelves or was sent it, either one, when I got my hands, looked at the box for the first time is the point I'm trying to make, it grabbed my attention because it's like the kind of game that I really love. And so I ended up picking it up or ended up getting it, one or the other. and it found its way into my collection. It's one of those games that I've always wanted to try out, but just haven't had the time to check out yet. And this is the last box in here of games that I haven't played. Another RTS. I told you, man, the RTSs were huge back in the day. And this is a Battle for Dune RTS called Emperor by the same people who made Command & Conquer. So you know you're getting some quality stuff in here at Westwood, in case you don't know that, because I forget how old I am and they don't exist anymore. Did not play this. Love Dune, love the Dune universe. That's the reason I'm excited I have this. I will play the Emperor game at some point. This is later in their lives. This is an EA Games published game, so you're looking at probably early 2000s or so. Let's see if I can find, yeah, 2001 is when this game was, when this game popped out. But Westwood, even back then, was putting out some pretty good stuff. So Westwood and Dune seem like a match made in heaven. I don't know how I never heard of this game back when it launched, but maybe there's a reason for it. I guess I'll find out eventually. Now we're moving into the stuff in this box that I've played, and I love pretty much everything in here. I'm going to start with a game that I think I told the story of when I think covered it in my collection, one of the very first collection videos I ever did. But you know Mech Warrior? Well, back in the day, Mech Warrior also fiddled with the RTS genre, like every developer in the world back then, and they came out with two games, Mech Commander and Mech Commander 2. I have Mech Commander 1 here. I do want to get Mech Commander 2 at some point. This is complete in box. Funny story, I never truly owned this game back in the day. My friend did, and back then, burning games onto blank CDs was not hard. There was no real protection on the CDs, and he had money, and my family didn't. But he had a CD burner as well, and any game I wanted, so long as it was one of the many that could be burned, a very select few couldn't, I would get, and I would just use his CD key and it would work fine. And this is one of the games that I got from him in that style. It would take a couple hours to burn the thing. And that's how I owned it. I know it's stealing technically, but I was also super, super young and I didn't know any better back then. And nowadays it's a little bit harder to do that. But I loved Mech Commander. I played it so many times. The customization of the mechs, the different loadouts you can do, everything you love about Mech Warrior was packaged into the RTS Mech Commander. If you've never tried out Mech Commander, you absolutely have to if you're a fan of the series in any way. They're such good games. Next up, a classic any big box PC game collector should have in their collection, or if you're just a collector of just games in general, SimCity 2000. How can you not have SimCity 2000? This game revolutionized the genre, and to some, arguably, is still the best SimCity out there. Though I think the majority consensus is 3000 is probably the best one. But 2000 is without a doubt the version of the game I put the most time into, bar none. I loved this game. I was terrible at it as a kid, but I really put in the work to try and get good, and I never was, but I still loved it because even back as a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid, management and simulation games had their hooks in me because they provided unique stories that nobody else had. And this was one of the earliest games to help me realize how much I loved them. This is a classic, Max Payne. I played this multiple times on console. I never played the PC version. I don't think it really mattered, but I am a big PC guy now, and PC gaming was a pretty big part of my life growing up. And the box for the PC version, the big box for the PC version of Max Payne is just so freaking sick. You can't beat it. It's just better than the console one by a long shot. It has a sweet gatefold box where it's just some really cool pictures of Max Payne and all of his old graphics glory and that never-ending smirk of that developer that ended up becoming the face of Max Payne. Max Payne is a great run and gun shooter with some really unique and back then revolutionary slow-mo mechanics. Every one of the games in the series, even Max Payne 3 after Rockstar bought it, are super worth playing, and I will absolutely be covering these on a Judge Mathis one day. We'll definitely do a Max Payne trilogy marathon for sure. After this game, every single one in the box is Star Wars. This is the first real big box PC game I ever had in my collection. This was what started it all. This box, this game right here. System Shock 2 is revolutionary. It is genre defining. In a lot of ways, it maybe even furthered the genre of RPGs in a ways people didn't expect it to. It's a masterpiece in every way. And I will admit that my video on this game isn't very good. I was proud of it at the time, really proud of it, but looking back on it now and seeing, how far I've come in terms of just my ability to kind of get my point across and scripts and just how I produce videos now, this is one of the ones I think one day I will redo because it'll give me an excuse to play through it again, and it was super fun. And there's just, I want to do this game better justice at the end of the day. System Shock 2, you don't need to play the first one. If you've never played this game, just play it. I'm not going to say anything other than that. All right, we're in Star Wars land now. I'm going to start with the weirdest, most obscure Star Wars game I ever bought off of eBay, and the weirdest one I ever bought, and that is the Software Toolworks Star Wars Chess. It's Star Wars chess. I don't know what to tell you. It's just Star Wars chess with Star Wars animations from like the freaking late 80s, early 90s at the most, but I'm pretty sure this is an 80s game. What's even more amazing about this, I remember it was like the only one with this box that I could find on eBay at the time, is just how many discs this game comes with. I'll give you a quick look. Floppy disks, of course, 3.5-inch floppies. That's the chess game. That is all. You need all of these to play Star Wars chess. The animations were just that took up that much memory, and these things couldn't hold that much. All right, these two are absolute classics. We'll start with the least popular one, X-Wing Space Combat Simulator. It's X-Wing Flyer, basically. This was back when, they were producing some flight simulator style games. The Star Wars flight simulator games were incredible because they were an amazing mix of just realistic, difficult simulation with ease of access and enough kind of arcadey like fighting and shooter to keep the moment-to-moment gameplay not a slog like some of the others. They just did such a good job at really dragging you into the Star Wars world, but making you feel like the hero or villain that you were meant to be playing. TIE Fighter is the one. This is the best one out of all of them, and it's still incredibly good today. You can get it, I think, on GOG, where it'll work on modern machines. There's a bajillion ways to try and play this. If you like flight sims, or you're interested in trying them out, or you tried X-Wing or Star Wars Squadrons, the more recent release, and want to try some of the older games, just play TIE Fighter. This is so good. And then right on top of that, X-Wing Alliance, which was another Star Wars game like this, a little heftier. This one I don't know as much about. I played the other two, never played the X-Wing Alliance one. This has got a lot more stuff in it. There's a lot more stuff like that's sent along with it, a heavy manual and the like, but I think it's just more of the same. I wish it looks like more of the same. But you're flying, you're flying like the Millennium Falcon, as well as all the normal stuff, and you're taking part in some of the more famous battles, it looks like, from the movies. So that's probably what the big selling point of this one is. But if it's using the similar or same mechanics as the other ones, I imagine it's just as fun. Next up, a classic, Star Wars Dark Forces, the game that started the Kyle Katarn story and is still pretty good today. What was just kind of a Doom-esque clone in the Star Wars world would eventually evolve over the course of its games, becoming one of the cooler, more fun, canon at the time, Star Wars stories only told in games, and going from just a guy who shoots guns to getting a lightsaber and eventually through the games really becoming a Jedi or a Force user was an experience that you could only get in this series at the time. And Dark Forces is not as great of its sequels, but it still held up pretty well and was a lot of fun. And if you don't mind modding the game, you can easily mod it to kind of hold controls more akin to modern shooters than trying to deal with keyboard only controls that were a staple back when this game came out. And finally, the very last box of this particular box is Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. This is the sequel to it. It is what it is, man. Dark Forces 2 picks up right where the first game left off. This is another great game, and it's just, you should play them. There's not much more I can say. You're not going to get like AAA level, like modern day kind of gameplay mechanics, but they're still really solid. They're still really fun, and the story is so freaking cheesy in the best way. This is basically a fan game with a fan film attached to it to tell the story that was dubbed canon for the sake of Star Wars lore back then. This was every Star Wars fan's wet dream to be able to do something like this, and you can just tell through the passion that they put into the making of these games. They're really, really good. You should give them a shot. And that's it for that box to add to the collection. This is a fun one. There's just a lot of good classic games in that box that most people are gonna have heard of, with a few of them that even I was like, I don't know much about. And that's what I love about kind of grabbing obscure PC games, because there was so much stuff on the PC that just kind of was a gem or unique that got looked over, that you still to this day can find things that are just like, how did this game get passed over? Why didn't it get a sequel? But again, this box was mostly classic gems, and I'm really, really excited to keep kind of unboxing and putting my collection up there and slowly getting this office back the way it once was. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed or had a favorite one of these games that I opened up, and just let me know in the comment section below and why you love one of those games as much as you may or may not. Or if you hate one of the games and it's trash, I'm fine. Just let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.